I'm pleased to introduce Fred Weston. Thank you so much for coming down from the other side across the York River and sharing with us lessons that you've learned from a similar campaign that you ran in York. York Ready for Climate Action is a tremendous sister organization to KitteryCAN and has launched a program a couple of years ago called York Eco Homes and has run quite a few initiatives to try to incentivize and inform York residents on ways to compost and avoid uses of dryers and all kinds of initiatives around the home. But you've put together a tremendous bunch of resources around solar, rooftop solar and community solar, and we're so pleased for you to share some of the lessons that you've learned. So I'll let you take it away and we can fire questions at you as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Truly an honor to be here tonight, be able to speak with you. Everybody hear me okay? So, a couple of things. Kittery is near and dear to my heart. I lived here 17 years before moving to York. So it makes me even more proud of Kittery that they have created KCAN and the other municipal initiatives that you've heard about. It's just fantastic that you're jumping all in and joining the other towns and around Maine. And there's not enough towns yet, but it just makes me really proud, and I truly appreciate it. And Kendra's point is spot on. Climate change and global warming, does not see town lines, does not see state lines. So it's important that we really do work together. York needs to learn from Kittery, and Kittery needs to learn from Elliott, et cetera, et cetera. We really got to battle this together because it is a battle and it's a war, and we are no question going to win it. I've been asked I do chair York Eco Homes, which is a program of York Ready for Climate Change, which is very similar to KCAN. York Eco Homes is specifically designed to help residents understand what they can do to reduce their own carbon footprint, reduce their own greenhouse gases, and how to do that. And so that's what we do. And we have run a community solar program initiative, and we're going to run another one very soon. It's kind of our number one priority if you want to set priorities. I've been asked to address a couple of questions. Number one is the most important one, I think. Why is community solar important? And I want to give you a quick background to answer that question and kind of paint the big picture for you to answer that question. The first thing we did in York is a greenhouse gas inventory. Where in York specifically are the greenhouse gases coming from? And no big surprises here. Number one, heating our homes, burning fuel to heat our homes and our water, but primarily heating our homes. 45% of our emissions come from heating our homes. Number two, driving around in our cars, transportation. Some of it, yes, is people going up and down 95, but we're going up and down 95. Kittery folks are driving through York, York people are driving through Kittery, et cetera, et cetera. Massachusetts people are driving through Kittery and York, and we're driving through Massachusetts to go see the Celtics game. Go Celtics. So that's the number two. That's 23% of gases, greenhouse gases in York. Number three is powering the electricity we need to power our homes, power our TVs, power our refrigerators, power our computers, power our lights. That's 10%. So you add all that up, and I'm plus or minus in a little bit here, but that's 78%. So let's call it 80%. And it kind of for me, it confirms somewhat the obvious that 80% of our greenhouse gases, and this is going to be true of Kittery and the Berwicks and Elliott and pretty much, I would say, 90% of the towns in Maine, because and New Hampshire, we are rural communities, right? We don't have big industry. We don't have huge industrial parks. So it's us, the residents, and our homes and our vehicles that are creating the greenhouse gases. So now we know how to solve the problem, because or at least we know what the problem is, so now we know where to direct our attention. So there's more than three things, but the three big things that we've got to do is address these three issues, that 80%, right? So we need to heat our homes with renewable energy. We need to drive cars that are powered by renewable energy, and we need to have our electricity flowing into our homes be from a renewable energy source. So where the technology is today, and it's probably going to be staying there for a long time, number one, we need to heat our homes with highly efficient electric heat, and those are called, and you've all heard the term probably, heat pumps. We have got to convert in the next 7 or 8 years. If you look at the science, we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years to make this switch. So we got to switch to heat pumps, number one. Number two, we got to drive EVs or at least really good hybrids for most of our driving, right? So we got to do that. I'm just matching these up to where the gases are coming from, the emissions are coming from. And number three is we've got to switch our electricity source to solar. It can be wind, but right now solar's really the only game in town to really switch to renewables. So those three, those are the big kahuna. That's the trifecta. And honestly, many people, we need everyone in York and Kittery and everywhere else in Maine to do these things. If we're, not everybody, but the majority have to do this if we're really going to win this battle. If we're really, York has set a goal. I'm not sure if Kittery has specifically set a goal. 2030, our town-wide goal that was accepted by and set by the select board, 50% reduction by 2030, 100% reduction, I think, by 2050. So the only way we're going to get there is by doing those three things. And one way I like to look at it is communities or solar, and really honestly, rooftop solar is fabulous. Community solar is fabulous as long as it's solar, right? As long as it's a renewable source. If you have the house that faces south and you have the resources to buy $30,000, $40,000 worth of panels, maybe they've come down some, or finance that amount, fantastic. That really is number one. But right behind it is community solar with zero investment. And that's the second part of this answer. Why is community solar important? One, it is the foundation of, let me back up a second. It's the foundation because you change your electricity source to solar, and then you electrify your heat and you electrify your vehicle, right? So if you can just think of it almost like a house. Your foundation is community solar, is solar powered energy, and then you electrify those two things. And anytime you look into climate change and solutions, you hear a lot about electrification, and that's mainly what we're talking about. Absolutely also electrify your stove, get away from gas. They have fabulous stoves now. I happen to build residential homes, and every home I build, an induction electric stove goes in. They are fabulous. The professional chefs are switching to them. I regress. That's a piece of that 10% of electrifying, but of electricity, but it's still, just think about electrifying everything is really the easiest way to look at it. The second reason it's so important, that community solar is so important, it is low-hanging fruit. It is, of these three things, it is by far the easiest thing to do because thanks to Nautilus and thanks to sun rays, and I think there's another company here today.
Ampion and Power Market are here, have representatives here tonight. There are many others.
Too. Excellent.
Yeah.
All solid companies, and thanks to them, it's low-hanging fruit because zero investment. You're not going to spend a penny. You're going to be assigned 20, 30 solar panels, and they're going to be sitting wherever that field is. There's some in Wells. There's a bunch in Augusta right now that Nautilus is bringing on. You're going to get assigned 29 panels, just like you own them, but you don't have to own them. It's fantastic. So not only zero investment, you're going to actually lower your monthly bill. Okay, so, and it's going to go down to 5 or 10%. It's really 5 or 10% of the supply side. You're still going to have to pay that. Maybe supply is the wrong word. This gentleman's shaking his head, but whatever. You're still going to have to pay the distribution costs. You're going to have to pay CMP to bring it to your house. But so it's not 10 to 15% of the total bill, but it's whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's $5 to $10 a month less, okay? That's the important thing. And it doesn't cost you. So you're going to save money. You're not going to have any investment. What's the third reason? And the third reason it's low-hanging fruit is to, a point was already made, is if you don't face to the south or you don't have the ability to put them on your roof, or you don't want to put them on your roof or out in your backyard, this is just a super simple solution. So anybody can get on the phone with any of these companies, and 20 to 30 minutes later, you have signed up for solar, and it'll take a while then for it all move through CMP and get the credit on your bill, but you're done. 20, 30 minutes, no money. So to me, that is why community solar, the other big reason. Question number 2. What have I learned leading a solar campaign in York? The number one thing I've learned is, even though it is low-hanging fruit, it is really straightforward. And I know you're getting a lot of mailings, and you got to cut through the clutter a little bit. And I don't mean to say it's like, I don't mean to speak like it's so simple we should all just get it right away. But it really is super clear once you dig into it a little bit. Despite that, we've signed up. We've been personally responsible, meaning York Eco Homes, that we've been able to track. Somewhere between 80 and 100 people have signed up that we've talked to and introduced them to these companies and give them the data on the screening questions and the information on YorkEcoHomes.com. The good news is we've signed up, let's call it 100. The good news is we've signed up 100 residents in York. The bad news is we've signed up 100 residents in York. We've got 7,400 households. We got a long way to go. And I know you got to crawl before you walk. But so the number one thing I've learned is we've got to get the message out. Hopefully a bunch of you will sign up, and then your neighbors will find out. You're going to be talking to them. Or maybe KitteryCAN will ask you to put a sign out that says, this home is powered by community solar. That'll just start a conversation with everyone from the UPS driver to your neighbors to your families. So that's really the number one thing, because York Eco Homes is in the midst of raising $56,000 right now, and we're going to use that. 90% of it is just going to be trying to convince York residents through traditional marketing, mailers, social media, radio. We're going to be just doing all the usual stuff, plus promoting events like this, promoting word of mouth, getting neighbors to talk to neighbors. Because we are competing with everyone else that's trying to get you to do anything. We're competing with Terracotta Pasta to buy their amazing pasta. And we're competing with Golden Harvest to shop there, right? It's really no different. So we have to cut through all that and say, hey, here's why you should do community solar. Here's why you should switch to solar, rooftop or community. But so that's the number one thing that I've learned. Common questions to ask community solar subscriber companies. I think Rebecca definitely covered some. We're convinced that everyone that we recommend on our list, which is really pretty much everyone in Maine, that you can absolutely get out of these contracts, and it takes 60 to 90 days because they've made a commitment to you. They've assigned your CMP account number to 20 or 30, whatever you need, panels. So there's a little time for them to back out, but just you can ask that question, but I'm sure the answer is yes, you can back out and pretty darn quickly. The big one for us is, do you have any farms that I can sign up for right now? Can I get on next week and start getting my solar, or next month? I think that's a big question. CMP and the state, thank God the state is progressive enough. We're only one of 15 states that has community solar. And I think we are truly blessed by that. But what was my point there? But CMP stepped up recently and realized they had some issues. So it's tough for new companies to come in right now. And some of the companies aren't offering, like one of the biggest ones doesn't have anything available for a year or two out. So ask, what do you have available? And if it's nothing available now, when is it available? Right? So a lot of them are a few months out. Some are, I'm not sure if any have any right away. Good news is they're selling out and they're getting people to sign up. So I would ask that, what's available? The third one, and this is kind of personal preference, we've heard a lot of feedback, and I personally, when I signed up, I like this. I like folks that are somewhat local. I like that the customer service and the sales folks are in Maine, right? They kind of get it. They're intimately familiar with CMP because they're getting a CMP bill themselves. So, a lot of the companies have, Nautilus Power Market are right here in Maine. I'm sure there's others as well. And at least New England, it's hard it can be difficult, I think, otherwise. So I think that's a good question. Lastly, can I speak to Revision's ownership model of community solar? So there really are two models. Subscription, as Rebecca described, is the #1 model. There's no investment. It's leasing or renting versus owning. But there is another model, and Revision Energy is the first one to build a field, a solar farm. I believe they're partnering with Arcadia, and which is another company involved in this. And in that case, you, instead of being assigned and renting, if you will, 20 or so panels, you actually buy them. And so call it 50 or 100 or 200 people. I guess a 5 megawatt, there'd be more than that. But a couple hundred people all go in and buy the panels. And what you get as a result are two things. You get the same tax credit as if you put it on your roof, which right now is 26% tax deduction for the cost. It's similar cost to putting them on your roof, but you don't have to have them on your roof, or if you don't have a roof that works. And the other benefit is over a 25-year period, your total electricity bill is going to be cut in half, because you're eventually going to pay it off. Either you're going to pay them right up front and you're going to amortize that investment, or you're going to borrow the money. So over the long term, you're going to spend half as much for electricity. So those are the two models. If you have the resources to borrow or just invest, that is a better model for that reason. So that pretty much covers my four areas I was asked to speak to, and really appreciate the attention.
Thank you, Fred. That was fantastic.